And it's good to see everybody. I know lots of you. I don't know all of you. But what Heather just finished by saying is exactly right. I think as somebody that has the benefit of working in a job where I have a union, there's nothing more important than bringing that right to other people. Helping other people have the same rights that I do. I get to work under a contract. I get to bargain with my employer, the people that control my wages, my work conditions. I get to bargain that as an equal voice across the table. There's nothing more important than creating more union members. So I'm happy to do that. I'm happy that that we're all here. And so I live in Barrie, right up the street, which is a lot. I don't have nearly as far to drive as lots of you do. And by trade, I'm a librarian at Vermont Tech. And I thought that it might be interesting to kind of take a couple minutes and sort of do my best to put you all kind of like in a historical context where you all fit right now in like the history of the world. But it's not going to take, we're not going to do it in real time. It'll be like 3 minutes. So there's a couple things there's a couple ways you can form a union. You can pass a law that lets you do it, and then you can do what the law says, follow that, dot the I's, cross the T's, and have a union. Or you could build a union and make the law follow you. And that's what you guys are doing. That's what you guys have been doing. Yeah, you can clap. There's nothing wrong with that. So that's how everybody got here in the first place. So let's look back at what life was like. You know, we'll skip the part where working people were actually enslaved in this country and move ahead a little bit. Do you all know, I don't know if any of you are from or have ever lived in like a large city in the Northeast, have any of you ever lived in a town that had a National Guard armory downtown?
There's one in Bradford, but not a large.
Yeah, but there's a National Guard armory downtown. Most big cities in the Northeast have a National Guard armory in the downtown. Anyone know why?
Workers in check.
Yeah. In the 1870s, there were so many people calling general strikes. That means everybody stops working and for better rights for everybody, all across the country, that it got people's attention. They built National Guard armories in the centers of Philadelphia, Springfield, Mass, Worcester, all over the place. National Guard armories to make sure that didn't happen again. And they used them. They used them with machine guns to kill people for trying to do what you all are doing. Anybody ever heard of the Battle of Blair Mountain? It's my favorite event in U.S. labor history. Anyone ever heard of that? No, why would you? You're not librarians. You don't have like random tidbits coming that every once in a while one of them is interesting. So, I think it's the 20s, is West Virginia, coal mine. The whole state is basically run by a coal mining industry. There was a county where it wasn't quite as strong as in the rest of the counties. So, strategic decision, miners, United Mine Workers looked at that town to organize the mine workers there. This is in the weakest town for the coal mining industry. In the weakest town, the coal mining industry police arrested the sheriff of the town and put him in the coal mining jail. You can look it up. The coal mining police threw the sheriff of the town into their jail for trying to stop them from shooting women and kids living in tents. The U.S. Air Force loaded bombs supplied by the coal mining company into U.S. Air Force planes and dropped them on the miners that were on the picket line. That was in the 1920s. That's not even 100 years ago. That's 90 years ago. They didn't have any law. That's an unfair labor practice. You are not meant to drop bombs on a picket line. You can't do that. In 18 months, they'll put a sign in the break room of the picket line that says you can't do that and charge them a $5 fine. That's about how strong an unfair labor practice is. So they had to do that and toil. That's one of many, many examples. It used to be that a lot of the generals that served in World War I made their bones, literally, by working machine guns on striking railroad workers in the 20s. Now, not to make this too much a horror show at 9 o'clock in the morning on a Friday, we can move on. The story is that after the workers built their union, they built their union by doing that. They acted as a group. You all are acting as a group. They didn't wait. How was the law going to follow them? The law sent Air Force bombers to bomb them is what the law did. So they built their union, and they made their union a reality, and they made the law follow them, is how they worked that out. So that is exactly, so now we have laws that exist for lots of workers. These folks that organized 3 months ago in Middlebury at Porter Hospital had a law. They didn't have to first pass a law. They had a law that was passed on the backs of those folks that dealt with the mining industry and the Air Force and the Army. They had a law, and still the law that calls for a free and fair election for the workers allowed the employer to spend over $100,000 in the course of a few months in Middlebury, Vermont, to hire a consultant to bring in the nurses there every day to mandatory meetings every day with your boss. Why are you doing this? Can't we be friends? How are you going to vote, Kay? Can't we be friends? Why are you doing this to me? Trying to have an equal voice across the table. You're mean. So that's what the law still allows for those folks, but they muscled it through, and they just stuck with it, and they didn't get tired, and they didn't go home, and they put their names and they put their pictures on a poster and they put it on the wall. And we had people going around the hospital. The nurses had them and their colleagues going around the hospital, putting the posters up with their names on it. I'm voting yes, in the face of all this oppression. I'm voting yes. Here's my picture, here's my name. Come find me. I'm voting yes. Posters all over the hospital that they had to replace as fast as the hospital was taking them down. It's like Tom and Jerry. They're going around the hospital, taking them down, putting the other ones up. They did it because they wanted it, because it meant enough to them to do that. That's always the question. That's been the question to you all for 3 years. Does it mean enough to you to do what you have to do? You all are here. It does. The good news is you will just you and all the rest of the providers around the state vote with your feet on that. You keep coming back. So that's kind of where you all are. Are you all surprised that we're here in what year is this? Is it like 2014? How many people are surprised that you're still here working to pass this bill? Yeah. For how many of you is this your first year coming in? How many is your second year coming into this building, to lobby day? Got it. So in 2011, you know the story. In 2011, the House passed the bill, gave you guys the right to choose whether you want a union. In 2012, the Senate passed the bill, gave you guys the right to choose whether you wanted to have a union. In 2013, best laid plans of mice and men. Nothing's perfect. Here we are in 2014. You're not nearly as surprised to be here, I think, as those folks across the street are to have you here. They didn't see this coming in 2011, and they didn't see it coming in 2012, and they didn't see it coming at the end of last year, that you'd still be coming back. But I'm not surprised. A lot of you I don't think are surprised. I don't think, Judy, I don't think you're surprised. Kay, I don't think you're surprised. And the reason I'm not surprised is that I was sure that once you all got a taste of what it might be like to live in the world where you are an equal, you weren't a suggestion box, you weren't just like someone that could be patted on the head and sent down and like visited once a year for a surprise like inspection. Once you got a taste of what it could be like to live in a world where you're an equal, you would be able to turn away.